again, she's actually served as project manager for the National Fire Protection Association's Firewise USA program, who we just heard from Megan, and as a Firewise Community Preparedness Day manager, which is now NFPA and State Farm's national grassroots campaign that encourages residents to take steps to improve their wildfire safety. She has written research papers about wildfire safety, including how how youth can be change agents for wildfire safety. She's currently a fire program specialist at the Federal Emergency Management Agency's U.S. Fire Administration, working to support the Wildfire Mitigation and Management Commission. And again, she's got a whole lot of other credentials here, but I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Faith. And if you would introduce Eric for us, that would be great.
Thank you, Robin. First of all, I would like to also introduce Eric Gablix, who is our superintendent at the National Fire Academy. And Eric, if you would like to give some information about your credentials and background before we get started.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And good morning, everybody. Thanks for letting us be with you today. I wear a different hat than Faith at the National Fire Academy. We work hand in hand. I oversee the training arm of the U.S. Fire Administration. So my background is started as a volunteer firefighter in New Jersey. Some of you may know my brother was the state fire warden of New Jersey, Maris Gablix. Now he works on the federal side with U.S. Fire Service through the cooperative program for the Northeast region. But moved to Oregon for 30 years and I got married, worked there for the state, did a lot of interaction with our wildfire partners, tribal, private, and public in Oregon, and also a structural firefighter for many years. And there with the state, ran the academy in Salem. So honored to be with you today, and we've got a lot to share with you. So Faith, thank you. So I'm going to kind of lay the groundwork because I know for a lot of you on this virtual seminar, you may not know who the U.S. Fire Administration is, and you may wonder why we're here. But we're a partner, and we're a partner with state, local, tribal, territorial agencies, not limited to fire and EMS, while that's our purview, also allied professionals. So a number of you on this seminar may not be in the fire service, but you're in that allied professional category. So we wanted to lay down the groundwork for who we are and what we do, and then I'll talk about training. Then we'll pivot over to Faith so she can talk specifically about the work she and her team are doing, and then we'll finish off kind of talking about where the agency is heading strategically. So Fire Administration formed just under 50 years ago through a report called America Burning. America Burning identified that our country had a fire problem, and that fire problem was twofold. One is that we were seeing hundreds of firefighters die in the line of duty each year, and we were seeing, unfortunately, thousands of firefighter injuries every year. And then the second issue that was identified, the large number of civilian fire losses in our country, honestly, more than 10,000 a year. So we have collectively done a very good job through 4 elements that were given to us by Congress, which are here on the screen. Data collections, which is our National Fire Incident Reporting System, prevention and public education, which we have renamed community risk reduction because it's more than just fire. It's all those incidents that we don't want to respond to, and a lot of those are life safety related. The third element of our 4 stars is research and technology, and then the final one is fire and EMS training. So the report, America Burning, outlined the needs of America as we addressed our fire issues. And while we've done a great job, we still unfortunately see about 75 firefighters die in the line of duty each year, and that's structural, aircraft, and wildland. And we unfortunately are seeing more than 3,000 civilians still die each year from fire. So we have a lot of work to do, and we're committed to that. So that just kind of gives you a quick framework. So Faith, next slide, please. This is our campus. We're based in Emmitsburg, Maryland, so we are just south of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. This is the home of the U.S. Fire Administration. Also, we have 2 schools on campus. One is the National Fire Academy that I oversee, and the other one is our partner agency from FEMA, which is the Emergency Management Institute. Next slide. So what does the NFA do? The NFA is here to support you and all of your coworkers, whether they're career or volunteer. So we promote professional development. We support and supplement state and local training programs. And that's an important piece that we want to share, which is that we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not replicating what's being done locally within your respective states or your region. We're, if you will, filling those niches of places that training needs to be provided. And no one else is doing it. Each year, through our on-campus, off-campus deliveries, we reach about 90,000 students around the country, and quite honestly around the globe, because we do have international students. So next slide, Faith. So I wanted to focus, because of this audience, specifically on what are we doing in the wildland urban interface. And our focus is that the interface piece. We support our structural partners, state, local, tribal, territorial. We're active with NWCG, so we have a full-time staff member assigned to Boise, Aitor Bidabaru, so he does a great job. We're also a member of NWCG in the training component. So we have created a GAP training program for structural firefighters needing to get interface training. We also host the NWCG online wildland firefighter course. So that's the S130L 180 S190. And we do that for the structural fire community so they can receive the training online and then finish their hands-on activities at home. And that's both savings in time and money. We also have developed our own unique classes that the National Fire Academy created. And you see a listing there of those. We did that because that was a gap we identified, which is for those agencies not in that NWCG arena, and that's many parts of the country. We know that there's a need for wildland urban interface training. So you'll see some of those are specifically on planning for evacuations, fire adapted communities, which Faith is going to talk about, also understanding the CWPP. So that's an important part of it. And then strategies for our developing fire adapted communities and also leadership in those areas. And all of the NFA classes, and this is important that I emphasize this, are not only free of charge, but open to all of you that are on this webinar. So that means you can come to Emmitsburg, Maryland for the classes. You can take these classes locally. You could take these classes online. There's no charge for you. If you do come to classes in Emmitsburg, we even reimburse you for your travel, and we provide lodging on campus. So your only expense out of pocket is your meals on campus and obviously your time. So next slide. So the other piece I want to cover with you, and again, we have more than 150 different course offerings, but I wanted to kind of highlight the one specifically that you'll be interested in. So we mentioned community risk reduction. Those are available to all of you. But also we do a lot of work in the incident management arena, specifically the all hazard incident management team type 3 training. The 0305 class is under the National Fire Academy. So we work really well with our state, local, tribal, territorial partners. Our conduit within the states is the State Fire Training Academy, but each year we're delivering through partnerships at least 20 or 25 0305 classes off campus, and we try to have about 6 or 7 on campus to fill that gap for people that can't receive that training when they're offered in their state. So again, all different opportunities for you and your members to participate in. So next slide. The other thing I'll share with you is we're really proud of all of our programs, but I wanted to focus on fire investigations. We do have a partnership with the ATF. They have agents assigned here to the Academy, and we do a lot of training for fire investigators, both law enforcement and fire. So you see a list of the different opportunities that we have available to you. Those are available to your members as well. And I know as you look at the list, you'll notice that there's a gap, and we're working to fill that gap. And that gap is that right now we do not have any focus in the wildland urban interface arena. So we're working with the NWCG Investigations Committee, and we're looking to bring both the FI 210 and the FI 310 class to our campus in partnership with NWCG Fire Investigations. So that discussion is active, it's robust, and we're hoping to have those classes here on campus if we can basically figure out the details on what it's going to take from infrastructure to offer it. The classrooms are easy, the curriculum we know is in place, but there's a lot of hands-on elements, so we want to make sure they're available. So next slide. For some of you that are younger, this is a library. For some of you that are older, you've been to these facilities. It's more than a free Wi-Fi connection. So we're very proud that our Learning Resource Center is the largest in the world. We have more than 100,000 publications, documents in our inventory of fire, EMS, and emergency management topics. All of those are available to everybody free of charge. So with the internet, we're pretty excited that 90% of our collection is now digitized, which means if you are looking for a document and we have it electronically, we can email it to you. If we have it as a book through the Interlibrary Loan Program, we would send that book to you at your local library. You pick it up there, you drop it off when you're done. There's no charge for you to do that. And we maintain a research library, which means that our folks are researchers. So if you have a request, if you're looking for something specifically in your community related to WUI or any other topic, it could be cancer, it could be health and wellness, please work with us. We'll get you what we can. And our research folks love to be busy. So we wanted to share the LRC with you. Next slide. Okay, national fire data, and this will kind of pivot over to Faith's work, but we mentioned NFIRS. I can share with you that under the new administrator, Dr. Lori Moore Merrill, we will be changing the NFIRS system, so that system will go away. We will be launching a new robust and more user-intuitive system for collecting data from across the country, and that's something long overdue. It needs to be not only current technology, but looking into the future. The system has served us well. It just needs a refresh and a buildings rebuild, so that's going to happen. And then we have some other reports listed here that fire data collects, for example, ergonomics, health and wellness, cancer, all those different things are available to you free online is the nice thing about all these things. So next slide. And now I give you Faith. So Faith, I'll turn off my screen and let you take it from here.
Thank you, Eric. Again, it's such an honor to be here today with everyone, and just want to share some resources, information, and data that's available to you to help you in the work that you do. There are two other divisions at USFA, the National Fire Data and Research Center and the National Fire Data and Emergency Medical Services Division, which also works cross-divisionally with agency partners and state, local, tribal, and territorial entities to help create tools, research, conduct research, and develop information and resources for our emergency responders that are useful to them in the wildland-urban interface. One of the research pieces that I'd like to talk about here is one that was conducted following the 2017 California wildfires, where there was a lot of loss, and quickly following that was the 2018 Camp Fire. USFA began collaborating with the Department of Homeland Security's Science and Technology Directorate, and I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with them. They do a lot of research for the military as well, but they worked with U.S. Fire Administration to conduct this study using tabletop exercises and also collaborating with agency partners and different fire service personnel to better understand what emerging technologies would be useful to improve fire response, but also not just operational capabilities, but looking at what was necessary to improve wildfire preparedness and how to improve mitigation within the communities themselves. So two different products that came out of that research that have been developed collaboratively with USFA and the Department of Homeland Security and Science and Technology Directorate are one, ATAC, which is available to you right now. It is a app that is free to use on different types of mobile devices, both Android and Apple. And this device is very helpful for fire service personnel, working both wildland fires and prescribed fires, because it helps firefighters see each other's locations and communicate more effectively, to coordinate better in complex WUI environments. So this is a really interesting application. It's on our USFA's WUI web pages for you to download. And again, it's all free for you to use. And it's a tool that was developed through this research that was conducted through the Department of Homeland Security Science and Technology Directorate. Another very interesting tool that's been developed as a result of this report are wildland fire sensors. This project was developed to help detect fires more rapidly. It's in the developmental stage right now, and it is being tested in the field in California. This is a really important project because it will enable early warning of fire events, which will improve fire response and enable the public to evacuate more quickly. So again, this is a tool that was developed as a direct result of the research U.S. Fire Administration has been working collaboratively with DHS S&T to create, and will be available to our agency partners and our SLTT partners soon. Another product that's been developed collaboratively with the Department of Homeland Security Science and Technology Directorate is a fun app. It's an augmented reality wildfire home safety app. That's available again on our web pages right now. You can download it and use it. It recognizes components of the home, like windows, gutters, and roofs. And as you click on the icon that it recognizes, it will tell prevention officers, as they're working with the public, what needs to be done to improve that home component to make it safer in the event of a wildfire. This is a really important tool, and it's a very fun interactive tool that I tested with our fire service personnel, and it's fun. It improves communication with the public. It's as we used it in the community, people were saying this is much more fun, and it helped them retain and remember some of the things that they could do with their homes to improve the safety of the home. And it also kind of created a more fun, interactive environment, as we were told by the fire service personnel that were testing it. They said people came out to them to ask them what they were doing, and interacted with them in a more conversational manner. So it's a fun tool that was, again, developed through this research. Some of the other tools that have been developed with the U.S. Fire Administration, working with other agency partners, and getting input from our SLTT partners like yourself, is creating resources to help communities become more fire adapted. One couple of resources mentioned here is we have a Tale of Two Cities, which is an interactive AMP type of story that can be used in community presentations, that kind of relates the story of two communities that survived wildfires and how they worked together to accomplish that goal. Some of the other tools we've developed are talking tips, which kind of enable people that are just starting to work with communities, or who have been working with communities and want to improve their skills, which include some guidelines on helpful questions and tips for better interactive communication with communities. And there's also social media cards. I've highlighted one here that are available in both English and Spanish to highlight prevention messages for wildfire safety. Another research paper that was just recently completed was this one on wildland-urban interface, a look at issues and resolutions. This paper is very helpful to give some information about recommendations both for government entities and local fire service personnel that identifies emerging issues and challenges in the wildland-urban interface and suggestions for working to overcome those challenges. We've worked collaboratively with other agencies to also help fire service personnel better understand their role in working with communities to create healthy landscapes. We have a really nice YouTube video that can be downloaded and used that kind of walks through the steps of looking at improving landscape health from 3 different locations around the home, within the community and those green belt areas, and also looking at those areas of landscape surrounding the communities, those larger areas, and how to collaborate and improve and create healthier landscapes to make fire response safer. We also have other accompanying resources, such as information about including everyone in that conversation to create healthy landscapes, including local businesses and other entities like the water service and entities that manage infrastructure, which sometimes are not included in those conversations about improving wildfire safety and helping communities become more fire adapted. And we've also worked with agency partners, including the Forest Service, to develop a downloadable template to make it easier for communities to complete those community wildfire protection plans. Again, it takes FEMA's whole community approach, where it encourages individuals who are creating these plans to include everyone in this wildfire safety planning. And it includes some guidance from a variety of different resources to help create this community wildfire protection plan. So it's a template to be used with state foresters and other individuals to make it a little bit easier to complete this plan. And also information within the guidance of the plan encourages communities to not just create the plan, but to view it as a living document so that it's revisited and that it's updated regularly as projects are completed and as new emerging issues and needs are identified within the community. The U.S. Fire Administration across divisions has worked with agency partners to try to create information and resources that can be used by our SLTT partners to make it easier for them to find federal wildfire resources, including grant and other funding opportunities. So there's on our webpage, it's called the Federal Wildfire Resource document, which lists all the resources available to communities, all the different grant resources and funding resources all in one location, which makes it a lot easier, one-stop shopping for those resources. And also, U.S. Fire Administration has been working with groups like the Wildfire Leadership Council and NWCG to develop NIMS position, wildfire mitigation specialist position that's recognized under the NIMS program with FEMA. The U.S. Fire Administration is also working to support the Wildland Fire Mitigation and Management Commission that's been established by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, along with 11 other federal members and 18 non-federal primary members. We are working with that group and supporting the commission as they are developing recommendations that are going to be put forth to Congress. There was a link on our webpage for anyone to share ideas and suggestions with the commission. And there's still an email link on the webpage. So if you have some ideas and you would like to get some questions answered, there is that email link for you to send forth your thoughts and ideas. Everyone's a part of improving wildfire safety, and we encourage you to participate. The first set of recommendations to Congress, the Aerial Equipment Strategy Report, has been released, and it's available for your review on our webpage as well. Some other work that the U.S. Fire Administration does to help address new research, emerging issues, and resources that might be available to you as we learn about them and they become available is our social media sites, including our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn sites. We also have our WUI webpage, which highlights blogs about research. And as you can see, there's some on fire shelters, some new courses that are available to improve your skills. And also there was some information on how to make it safer for vulnerable populations during a wildfire, to plan to include that community in your community wildfire protection plan. So all of this information and resources are available to you at no cost. There's also an infogram that you can sign up for that lists different webinars and other resources that might be available to you as well. Another division, the National Fire and Emergency Medical Services Division, works to improve medical services response and is looking at not only physical health, but improving mental wellness with our first responders. One of the projects that we worked on, because identified by some data and research, was that a number of firefighters were injured on the road during wildfire response and prescribed fires, was to help work together with the Responder Safety Learning Network on a video training to help first responders be safer on roadways. So that is available free of cost. It's a video learning opportunity, and you can get credits for participating in this video training. Eric's? I'm going to turn it back over to Eric's here.
You're muted, Eric.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So let's just pause because I wanted to finish up. Faith and I kind of wanted to share with you what we're doing, but we wanted to finish off with where we're heading. But any questions so far that we can answer for you before we kind of cover the last few slides? Okay, I'm looking at the chat, so we're good. I'm not seeing anybody raising their hand. So let's talk about the where are we at and where are we moving into the future. So last October, the U.S. Fire Administrator, Dr. Laura Moore Merrill, brought in our stakeholders from across the country, not just our state, local, tribal, territorial fire and EMS leaders, but also our research and academic partners. And what she asked them to do is to tell us where are we at in our country with what are the most important and most concerning issues that we have. And I think the list will not surprise you. So what you see in front of you are the top 5 items. So wildland urban interface, with the focus, of course, from the U.S. Administrator for Fire in the interface, right? Because we're not the Wildland Fire Protection Agency, but we do know that the interface is an area that we can do more work in. Recruitment or retention, behavioral health, cancer, and then codes and standards. The QR code on this page will take you to the proceedings, so you could watch the YouTube videos that were recorded that'll talk about the presentations that were given, but also give you all the resources that are being created as a result of that. So next slide, page. I'm sorry, Faith. So let's talk about behavioral health. This one, of course, is front and center for all of us, but what we're seeing in our country, both structural and wildland, are the behavioral health impacts of the men and women that serve our communities and respond to emergencies. So unfortunately, over the last few years, we have seen more firefighters take their own lives than have died in the line of duty. We will be honoring 144 firefighters here this weekend in Emmitsburg. 70 approximately died last year in the line of duty, but many of those others died from previous years. But we have an equal number, and actually a greater number, that are dying from suicide. So the discussion is, how do we get to a place where we get not only to the place where it's okay to say you're not okay, but also letting our coworkers and our supervisors know how to help somebody when they're having a behavioral health challenge. But also, how do we start from day one with things like resilience when we bring men and women into our organization? So behavioral health is obviously the number one concern moving forward, and we have a lot of different resources generating up to kind of get out to all of you on what we can do. So next slide, Faith. The next one is cancer. Unfortunately, we are seeing cancer continue to have an impact on the fire service. We know the impact structural firefighting is having. We know the impact interface firefighting is having, but we need to do more work, especially in the wildfire arena, about what it is that we're breathing and what those impacts have on the men and women that are in the field, if you will, hands-on, boots on the ground. So awareness is one thing, changing the culture, deconning how our equipment is created, how our equipment is cleaned, our respiratory protection, physicals, and all those help. But also, doing baseline evaluations for the men and women that are firefighters to see what their exposure rates are. The other thing that I will add on here, which just launched last week, and this is the CDC through NIOSH has launched a National Firefighter Registry. It is open to all firefighters, career, volunteer, combination, structural, wildfire, aircraft. And what CDC is trying to do is to, if you will, create a registry for all of the individuals in the fire service so we can do long-term studies about the impacts firefighting is having on the people that do the task. So the registry is free of charge. All you have to do is Google the National Fire Registry under CDC. It takes a few minutes to log in, and then you'll be part of a national cohort, a national study looking at cancer in our occupation. The other thing that we added here, and this is not good news by any means, but the World Health Organization's IROC, the Research in Cancer Organization, has officially classified firefighting as a carcinogenic profession. So the amount of cancer in our industry is at a level where WHO has now said, from a worldwide standpoint, firefighting is a carcinogenic profession. So that, I think, is a call for all of us to wake up and realize that we have to not only take this seriously, but how are we working to mitigate the impacts to our men and women that do this task. So next slide, Faith. The next one out of that summit I mentioned was codes and standards. So these are some of the bullet points under codes and standards, and that's building codes, sprinklers, smoke detectors, public education, obviously in codes and standards, especially in interface communities, building codes for resilience, for hardiness of structures, for defensible space, all those different things that are being implemented. But what we're also seeing in many communities around the country is that as communities are having discussions about affordable housing, in many of those communities, some people are saying that the codes and standards may need to be lowered or loosened because of the cost that those have on housing. The fire administrator has been very clear, and she has said that affordable housing doesn't mean unsafe housing. All of you in this webinar can look at the different studies that have been done, these different research papers that have been created. Building codes and standards do make a difference in the wildland-urban interface arena. So again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but this is an issue of national concern when we have this discussion about what's facing us today. Next slide. So the next one, recruitment or retention. People used to be lining up to be firefighters, both structural and wildland. We are all struggling to find people to hire. Every business is struggling to find people to hire. So discussions going on within the recruitment and retention work group is creating apprenticeship programs, basically bringing people in just like other trades do, whether it's plumbers, carpenters, electricians, bringing in people that are interested in being firefighters, providing the training, the on-the-job training, and then a career at the back end. That doesn't help volunteer fire departments, but it does help our wildland and our structural agencies. So that discussion is there. The other one is, how do we get kids interested in fire careers? High school STEM programs are one outreach. Another one are junior firefighter explorer programs. The term being used by a lot is grow your own. We know a number of wildfire and structural agencies have programs right now with local schools where they're bringing in youth into the fire stations, either as interns or others, but getting them thinking about what may be happening. We know the wildfire group has had a lot of that interaction, especially in the prescribed burn area, partnering with college universities. So how do we, one, bolster our outreach with people that don't know what we do? But secondly, how do we harvest that outreach to find individuals that want to come work in our career field? The last bullet point on this one is girls' camps. We know that the fire service, structural, wildfire, aircraft is underrepresented by our minorities, and we need more people of color. We need more women in our ranks. So girls' camps are being actively provided across the country and are really generating a lot of interest and a lot of applicants. So this is just a quick thumbnail of recruitment or retention. So next slide, Faith. So the last one, WUI, we focus on the interface, of course, because that's our area, but the impacts of climate change. And again, preaching to the choir with all of you in attendance, but we are seeing across the country and across the globe differences in our response patterns for first responders based on weather. And that's caused by rain and drought, heat and cold, tornadoes, hurricanes, and in many cases where they've never occurred before, they are happening now. So we're seeing our first responders taxed by having to respond to these incidents, and not that they are not ready to respond, but they are doing it more often than ever. And in a lot of communities, they may not be equipped or trained to respond, especially in the interface. Not uncommon for us to still see people fighting interface fires wearing structural turnout gear, which all of you on this call know is not what they should be doing, right? They should be wearing the appropriate PPE for the task at hand. So climate change, especially in the interface, is front and center. Next slide. Again, preaching to the choir, but why? When you look at the Camp Fire, 2018, it occurred. 20,000 homes and businesses were destroyed or nearly destroyed. Since 2005 to 2020, 97,000 structures have been destroyed by wildfire in the country. So that's why the USFA and the fire service is leaning in. Next slide. As I mentioned, here on campus, we will be hosting the national ceremony this weekend. We honor our fallen every day. We know a number of wildland firefighters are etched in the wall here on campus, and unfortunately, we know the names of a number will be added this year during the ceremony. So each and every day, our commitment is to make sure that those people did not die in vain, that we honor them, but we also honor them by learning from the situations that they encountered and how can we look at preventing and mitigating those. Next slide. So we're here to help you. This is the QR code to our webpage. So please jump on our webpage. All the information Faith shared for you is available there. Applications for our classes, our schedules are available online. No cost to you. It's super easy. You just got to log in and we'll do the rest. Next slide. So that's it. So we are proud to be with you. So Faith and I are online, honored to share the work we're doing, but also very glad to answer any questions that you might have. And Caroline, I see your post and you're spot on. I having a brother and sister who work in the environmental area. My sister is a state park superintendent. My brother's a wildland firefighter. And you're right. People don't know that we have wildland firefighters and what it takes to do that. And also, there's a group of people that will be very interested in that area. So I think you're working on the same challenges within your communities of practice that we are, which is we've been very transparent that not everybody that works in the fire service has to be a firefighter either. We have a lot of people in community risk reduction plans, codes, standards, engineering that have no interest in pulling a hose. They have no interest in getting on a fire truck, but they are very passionate about fire and life safety issues. So what we say is that there's 1,000 jobs for 1,000 people. Our challenge and our opportunity is sharing what we do and getting the word out, because and I say this with a smile. The TV shows aren't helping us right now, right? They're not explaining what we do, and I don't think they're often portraying the fire service in the way it should be portrayed, and with the amazing opportunities that are out there. So great question, Carolyn. So thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Eric's and Faith? Okay, well, we sure appreciate having both of you join us this morning. A lot of good information and, a great update on what the U.S. Fire Administration and FEMA has for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here, Robin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you don't have to wait for us to come to your next virtual webinar. So we're here. Reach out. We can do whatever we want to help support you. Faith is amazing. And actually, I don't know when she sleeps because she's always doing something Wooey related. But all of us here on our team are here to support you. So please don't be a stranger. Let us know how we can help.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for all the resources provided. That is tremendous.
Thank you. We're here to help if you need it.
Okay.
Thank you for including us.